Here we are on the upper left. Press the button a little early. That's fine. For Psystorm, he's Spirit.
And his opponent spawning down on the bottom right. Formerly on Psystorm Gaming. No longer. It is GuMiho. And you know what? We're always talking about storylines in StarCraft 2 and esports in really any competitive thing. And this is a pretty interesting storyline because we have this matchup between two players. I mean, stylistically, I don't think they could be more different. You've got Spirit, who is so late game focused, so methodical. He's really elevated his play in massive ways, but I mean, very much, you know, still a by the book Terran, so to speak. And GuMiho is who's such a chaotic Terran. But then you have GuMiho, who was the ace Terran for Psystorm Gaming for so long. He came back from the military, took him a little while to spin up, but eventually he did, and he got really, really good again. And then you've got Spirit, who has come in and has been a very recent pickup for them, and has, you know, at this point, it's now the old versus the new. It's a really cool little setup here in this series.
That it is. And Steadfast, we got to talk about what's happening here because we talked about it, I think, in the group stage, but things were happening. But TVT's been unlocked a little bit. It's no longer Reaper Double Gas Factory or Double Gas Barracks Factory. There we go. Barracks Double Gas Factory. Every single game, we're seeing different things. And Spirit, well, he went for a quicker reactor, which means his first Reaper is slow, but he gets two after that very nicely. In your production, it's a little more streamlined. But GuMiho, on the other hand, he's going for a Reaper expand. It's high ground, of course, because he has to be careful of Reapers on the other side. But he's able to be greedy. He's getting an SCV. He gets a full scout of everything, and he's not going to lose the Reaper. So, assuming he doesn't take tremendous damage, right? You never know. Spirit may be able to run across the map and make something happen with this more aggressive opening. I mean, GuMiho, like, butter's not going to melt in his mouth at this point. He's got the Reaper expand. He kills an SCV, full scout. This is a beautiful opening.
This is a great opening for GuMiho, yeah. And Spirit, I mean, this was no scout one racks expand from GuMiho, which, I mean, it is still safer than normal because he built the command center in the main base, but the fact that he went across the map with that Reaper is pretty big. It's dangerous against a proxy 2 racks Reaper, and he got rewarded big time for it. Now Spirit, he only builds 3 Reapers off of this. This is rather funny. I wonder if this is a response to being scouted. GuMiho is going to poke in, and he will lose this Reaper instantly. And funnily enough, he doesn't actually confirm that there's a command center. You can be pretty sure that there is because he saw that SCV from earlier. He knows the timing off of the factory expand setup. So that's why GuMiho was in there. And as well, he knows he was able to stick around once he saw the reactor and snipe that SCV. Still, this is like a very good start for GuMiho. And he took a small risk, but it's paid off quite significantly.
Yeah, this is massive for GuMiho right now. And look at what he's doing. GuMiho is probably, I don't know, one of the only players, maybe the only player that really adds Banshees into this, into his setup. I mean, I actually really can't think of anyone else. So damage early, greedy play. And it's going to be interesting to see now whether Spirit is going to be able to deal with this. Now, it seems like it's going to be Cloakless. Cloak would be started by now. So a Cyclone, a little bit more powerful, and you don't have to keep the Raven at home to defend. And Spirit, though, he's the one that's going to go take his greed a little bit to the next level. That's already a third base halfway done. But the question here, Steadfast, we're looking at a 2-1-1 out of the Terran player. Well, they're both Terran. A 2-1-1 out of GuMiho. Is this all... you get money early, and is he going to turn this into... he's not, actually, as I say that. Third base on the way, but it's a little slower.
I'm actually really curious what GuMiho is going to do with this. He did build a reactor off of that second barracks, so he's able to start up Viking production or medevac production right away. But it won't, if it's medevacs, it won't pair with Stim. Stim is just started, obviously, because the barracks just got onto this tech lab. I'm a little bit confused by the build order choice of GuMiho. Okay, there we go. He is going to start up the medevacs now. I mean, you can still go for a 2 tank, 8 marine drop off of double double medevac, and it can be really powerful. But I don't know. This is a little bit strange from GuMiho. Oh, that spotting Marine actually sees the Banshee.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Great stuff from Spirit. That's really, really nice for him. Where is the Cyclone? It's on the left side. Maybe anticipating the potential actual cloaked Banshee because, you know, Spirit has not gotten into the main base. He hasn't seen anything. And there it is. It is going to be 2 tanks and a medevac full of Marines. Stim won't be done right away, but it will eventually complete. And, I mean, if this does get set up, there is potential for this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Reapers and the Hellions on the high ground from Spirit there, they're looking to see something run across the map. And they're not going to see it. Now, I like this from Spirit. Just runs. He's got 3 Reapers. That means 3 scouts. He runs 1 in now. It actually manages to get out here. So he's going to be able to scout even more. The problem is, though, despite the fact he saw the Banshee, despite the fact he saw everything else, he doesn't see this drop getting ready to arrive. Now, the scan may alert him to something. Generally, you know, a Terran's going to look to scan your base to see if they can move in and drop. But the Cyclone of the third is going to force the entire army out of position. And GuMiho, a full siege. SCVs have to get pulled away. We're going to see these E-bays at the very least delayed, if not canceled. Massive, beautiful moves coming out of GuMiho early on.
Yeah, he's already gotten 8 SCVs. He's going to find one of these engineering bays. GuMiho is going to stick around. I think I would have preferred to see him get out of here when he kind of could have for free. He will get cleaned up. And Spirit, I mean... yeah, no, I really prefer that GuMiho would have just gotten out of there. He could have. He scanned. He saw that Viking production was coming through. He knew that there were Ravens in the natural. I really don't know why he stuck around there. That was super greedy. He did get good damage and good value. And I think GuMiho has put himself into a lead, at least economically, but he could have been in so much more of a lead if he saved those 2 tanks as well.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at how much was spent. Yes, 10 workers went down, and certainly Spirit is down a couple workers, but it cost just about twice as much, over twice as much to make that happen. So I liked the idea. The idea was interesting, but if he'd been able to get out, I mean, that would have been so much better.
Amazing.
Yeah, it would have been
Think about
so
how much
good.
scarier this push would be. Not even with more Marines, not even with, well, let's say he saves 1 medevac and 2 tanks. 5 tanks versus 3, it's a drastically different story, especially with this big upgrade lead setup he's got. Once again, I still think that GuMiho is in a good position, but it could have been so much better if he just been a little bit more measured with it, a little bit more, I don't want to say mature, but I mean, that's kind of the word that comes to mind, you know?
Yeah, that being said, right, we talk about this push. GuMiho was not able to get any of the Ravens of Spirit. So Spirit's still sitting on 3 of them. Their energy has been accruing over time after, you know, that last hold happened. So any sort of, I mean, maybe even with, I don't even think with 5 tanks necessarily, the 3 Ravens each having, you know, a disable and a half, getting ready for that second one. The position that Spirit finds himself in right now is really nice, but you can't be everywhere. So a drop into the natural, a couple more workers will fall, but the tank gets disabled. That's very nice. But still, workers continue to die here, and Spirit is just taking damage everywhere. The army supplies were somewhat equivalent for the time being, but at this point, 79 to 61, but at 23, GuMiho's getting damage in every single... He's getting damage in every single base steadfast. That's not supposed to happen.
No, it is not. That is huge stuff. GuMiho pulling the trigger in game number 1 and ripping Spirit apart. And this is 1-1 versus 0-0. Combat shields just now completing for Spirit. Spirit is going to eventually clean this up in the natural, but his 3rd base is heavily sieged. GuMiho is taking some damage on the other side of the map. 10 SCVs going down to... I guess, was it double Liberator? Yeah, double Liberator. That's not even close to enough counter damage.
No, it really isn't, especially even with the mining time lost, because of course Spirit's not mining out of the 3rd base here. Ooh, nice tanks he's there, and Spirit just taps. Yes, he was dead steadfast, but tapping out before the final fight.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a massacre. Yeah, no, that was a very appropriate GG timing. I think any longer, and you start, I think you start taking such bad fights that it's worse than nothing, and you're rallying your opponent even more. They're like, oh, look, he's falling apart.
Yeah,
you know.
The only thing, reason I bring this up is he just played a marathon 5-game series against Tier Marine. In fact, in a setup where he threw game 4 really hard. You know, he's able to come back and do whatever. But Spirit is a player, especially in TVT, that has talked about how playing enough of these, his brain, like he loses it eventually. He gets overtired. He falls apart. I'm thinking specifically about when he played that awesome series versus Kieran Katowice, and then he got up 2-1. He played a couple long games. Kieran had these incredible comebacks, goes down to the lower bracket, finds his way through. He was like, yeah, eventually I just mentally I wasn't there. I got too tired, and I wonder, Spirit talked about, he did not get a good sleep last night. He had seagulls outside of his window. His room was too hot. I wonder if we're seeing some of that. We obviously didn't see it in the Hero Marine series. He was able to punch through, but I wonder, even with this long break that he had, I wonder if we're starting to see some of that a little bit, because to be honest, what GuMiho was able to do should not have been possible and did not look like the Spirit we're used to seeing.
Yeah, no, it was, and that's I think why it's so important to just go next in a situation like that. Like, just be like, okay, he got me, and it's almost one of those situations where it's better to just like not even look at the replay, not see exactly how it went, and just go. Because if he looks at that first drop, he might have been like, oh man, that first drop just killed me. But then if he looks at the replay, he'll be like, oh, actually no, I was not that bad off. It was the upgrades that were unfortunate, but either way, I think it's good. He brushes it off. We're going to game 2. Let's get into it on Royal Blood.
Exactly. In the upper right and in the blue, he's down on map. Let's see if his defense can hold just a little bit more for Psystorm Spirit.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom left, looking so strong in that game number 1. Give it up for the Red Terran player, GuMiho. Man, that triple prong from GuMiho was absolutely brilliant. Because, like, we can talk about Spirit being tired all day long and whatnot, not being in position. I mean, that was GuMiho kind of just suddenly drawing and quartering Spirit there in that game number 1. And I do think that Spirit can absolutely recover in this next one, but that was a really good showing from GuMiho in game 1.
Yeah, certainly. And we do have to remember, of course, that GuMiho got away with something in game 1. He went for a Reaper expand. He got an SCV. He delayed things. Like, that early game went so perfectly for GuMiho that
yeah, it was already, definitely a strong start. Yeah,
Spirit was already against the ropes a little bit, taking damage. I mean, he was not in a losing position, but he was certainly in a disadvantaged position even before that triple drop happened. So, you're right. New slate. Let's see what happens here. And for now, we are incredibly mirrored. It's Barracks, Double Gas Factory. Command Center is going to be on the way eventually. And part of that is, of course, the map, Royal Blood. Maybe it's a little bit harder to get greedy on, but I think it's also serious planning. GuMiho realizes, you know what? I can get away with this like once a series. I can go Reaper expand. But at that point, my opponent's going to be aware of it. He's going to be looking at it, and Spirit is maybe going to be able to he gets the first shot, but the KD8 charge forces him back here. And it's just going to be a bit of a trade, but no one seems confident. So a little more damage on the SCV. Your second Reaper arrives, and that will force things back. But still, dance is early.
Yeah, that got a little bit scary for Spirit. The thing is, by being the aggressive player, even though they always say never lose your Reaper in TVT, it's a disaster if you lose your Reaper in TVT. That's correct. But if you're the one who's losing it aggressively, it's not as bad because your opponent still has to cross the map. You kind of keep tabs on them. If that had gone down for Spirit, that would have been really, really bad. So I don't blame him for being a little bit afraid. Meanwhile, we do see the Hellion and the Natural sniping down one SCV. The 2 Reapers in the main base get another one. This is actually as good of a start, or I would say it's as good of a start maybe as game number 1 already. Yeah. Because now they've done mirrored builds, and GuMiho has actually just out-microed Spirit. Yeah, and so with game 1 being like a build order advantage, you're just like, okay, you throw it away. Game 2, this is actually Spirit getting outplayed a little.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, he did get outplayed a little bit game 1 as well, but I'm getting seriously worried for Spirit in this series. I was excited about the prospect of this matchup, right? Spirit, GuMiho, TVT, it's gonna be awesome. Spirit played that awesome 5-game TVT against Hero Marine, but we are not seeing the Spirit that played Hero Marine. Like, quite honestly, this can change. Absolutely. You can get into a series. You can warm yourself back up again. You can start playing better. But as of right now, we're seeing 75% of Spirit. And, for Spirit's hope in this series, I really hope he's going to be able to turn it on, and he maybe has, you know, some opportunities. Ravens on the way, tanks here. This pressure from GuMiho will run into a stalwart defense, and if he can have a solid hold, you know, maybe that's going to be what it takes to bring his way back in. And this is nice.
This is huge. This is gigantic because Spirit is, this is only 2 Reapers. This is just his leftover units from the early game. GuMiho put everything on the other side of the map, and he, oh no, that grenade. Okay, he didn't put himself into the corner. That's good. Spirit is now in a position where all he needs to do is hold, and he'll be in a great spot. Cyclone does get the lock on a Reaper, not the Siege Tank, but his own Siege Tank sieges up. GuMiho is going to be forced back. GuMiho really needed to get a lot done with this. The Reaper's still alive in the main base. He sees the Vikings as well. This is a big deal. So I wanted to point this out, but the action already kicked off. GuMiho skipped going for Raven. So that makes this even more dedicated than normal. Oh, this Cyclone, can he get the lock on the medevac? No. If he could have gotten the lock on the medevac, that would have been even better for Spirit. But just as things were starting to go really well for GuMiho, Spirit finds himself with a massive, massive set of pickoffs, gets a bunch of damage done to the medevac. GuMiho has to find huge damage right now. He's down 7 SCVs.
He really does here. And everything I said about how this is, Spirit seems slow. He's not playing up to his usual caliber. Well, that was, if there's any way to get yourself back mentally in a series, that's fantastic. But big tank shots, not ready for that one. The Cyclone will follow that anti-air power that you have. And Steadfast, you talk about the Ravens. They're such an important unit. But Vikings rule the skies, and it becomes so much harder to play with your Ravens if you have to worry about the Vikings running forward and sniping them down. So Spirit has to give position up. He's got to fight his way back here. And he's building Vikings into Vikings, but he's doing it slower. So GuMiho, maybe you can rely on defender's advantage a little bit, as the scan is going to work against him right now. He saw what was happening. The Marines run forward and they just eat shots. And now he's got to give the position up once again. This slow push coming out of GuMiho is such a problem.
It is. We are going to see the Vikings landing right here. Going to try and jump on these tanks. We'll grab 2 of them with the help of the lock-on. Oh, man. I was saying GuMiho needed to find some damage, and he has certainly found it here. He's got that magic number of tanks, 3 now to one-shot opponents' tanks if you get in range of them. And he is now sieging this gas. He is sieging the natural. He's going to land once again on the tanks. Oh, this time Spirit does have a high ground tank. That's going to help him out a lot, and he'll kill 3 of the Vikings. But Spirit needs a hell of a lot more than that. Where are the Ravens right now? They're in on the top side. Is it going to be auto turrets? I think at this point, maybe lift the command center, wait for 1 more set of Vikings, and just go.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Interference matrices. I don't even know.
It's going to have to be break, though, right? The tanks are unsieged. 1 more set of everything. And you're right. Just lift the tank, lift the command center, pull the SCVs, and everything goes. Right now, not even lifting. So 2 disables, only 2 tanks firing. Auto turrets as well here. SCVs are starting to go down. The buffer of the Vikings is doing so much, but the Army of Spirit is going to be able to find its way through. Oh, the tanks will go down. Spirit stays alive, but he loses 10 SCVs. It looks like he got a couple, I don't know what those SCVs from GuMiho went down, but he loses 8 on the Delta. And now GuMiho adding that second factory. His 3rd base is on the way, but here's the problem. 3rd orbital already done on location. Spirit has bought time for himself. And this pressure that follow up, it's not going to be there for GuMiho. He's got to build his army up once again. Spirit has bought himself so much time back into this game.
Yes, Spirit is in a massive lead at this point. It may not look like it. You see 6 SCVs down, but look at the income advantage. There is more income right now for Spirit. 3rd command center is landed and is starting to mine. The mules are a factor there. More importantly than all of that is the infrastructure right now for Spirit. GuMiho is going to try and go mech, I believe, and he's only on 1 factory. The 2nd one is being built right now. Now this could be really effective. It's 4 landed Vikings in a medevac. The dream is alive. But he is going to lift these Vikings, unland them, as I like to say, get himself back into the corner. Where are the other Vikings from Spirit? He's got more, but they're not here at the moment. He doesn't want to fight this. Okay, they are coming back home. Oh, if he can bait GuMiho into sticking around. Spirit, he could have cut this off, but he's not doing it. Oh, Spirit. Okay, there we go. He will get 2 of the Vikings. That's big. There is a distraction in the natural. I don't know. Did he land more Vikings? Yeah, he did. Okay, yeah, so this still ends up amazing for Spirit. GuMiho's just thrown away all of his air control. And he's on 4 tanks and a Liberator and a medevac.
Yeah, it's not a lot. And on top of that, Spirit, he has Stim. He's got combat shields halfway done, a third of the way done. He's got 1-1 on the way here. He's been mining so much more, despite the worker disadvantage, which, by the way, isn't a thing anymore. He's 58 to 57. And that third mule, so impactful. There's not even a third orbital, even still. And now Spirit, the shoes on the other foot. He's got 16 Marines and some medevacs, but unfortunately, there are some missile turrets there, but he's going to find himself a little bit better of a position. He thought there was going to be room, only 2 missile turrets, but instead there's 3. So still 6 workers, 8 workers still go down. It's still worth, but oh man, it could have been more.
It could have been a lot more. I don't blame Spirit for just YOLOing in there. You assume that your opponent's not going to build 3 turrets. It was a very smart decision from GuMiho to go for that. And you can see that GuMiho needed to deal with this right away. That's why he pulled these SCVs. There is 7 SCVs that just went down on the other side of the map. What was it? Oh, it was the Liberator Harass. Oh, okay. So good job from GuMiho to utilize that Liberator, get some value from it. Spirit, yeah, he'll kill off this missile turret, but you can see how desperate GuMiho is. He's building missile turrets at a timing when you really don't want to be, because he knows that if those 16 Marines get into the main base, for example, he knows that his defenses are so thin right now that if Spirit can find an opening, he will rip GuMiho apart. However, good job from GuMiho to survive this so far. Yeah.
And that being said, though, we saw Spirit really try to lean into that killer instinct he has learned over the last year in the Hero Marine series. He landed Vikings, he went for a hold, or went for a break, went for a game-ending move, and it didn't work. He got slapped so hard back. And we saw in I don't know if you were watching game 5 of that series, but we saw Spirit maybe a little bit more stead, until the base trade. He kind of took a step back here. So these Hellions are beautiful. 5 workers have gone down, but you have to wonder, has Spirit, a little bit been, I don't know, trained, has been, been told, hey, maybe don't try to kill things quite as much. But for now, 6 workers have gone down. The Hellbats on the north side, I mean, they can fight this random little bit of stuff. So yeah, this base might just get delayed quite a bit longer. The single Hellbat doing so much, but here comes the break from Spirit on the top side. SCVs have to get pulled, and they will go down, so they're going to keep GuMiho alive, Steadfast. But 17 more dead workers. And yeah, the Hellbat drop's nice, but I don't know about you. I think I'd rather kill 17 workers than deny a base a little bit.
I mean, that was such a good job, though, from GuMiho to pull the SCVs. If he doesn't, he dies right then 100%. There. Instantly. So that SCV, because 2 of the tanks were disabled, that was a really, really heads-up play from GuMiho. And now the fact that he is finding a little bit of counter damage done with this. Oh, the SCVs. Okay, he's not clicking. Oh, man, if he had clicked those SCVs, he could have gotten like 4 or 5 more. We're going to see a big push coming on through. Spirit's got no idea. He's going for a slow siege. Oh, my God. GuMiho coming in with a decisive move. It's basically pure tank Viking here. And Spirit's got no way to deal with this right now. This just snuck right up to his 3rd base.
Yeah, but Steadfast, watch for the flank. That slow push can sweep in from the backside. For now, Spirit has to be so careful. He maybe needs another round of production. The 3rd base can't mine super well right now. And I love this scan is beautiful. So now the Vikings are going to knock the medevacs out of the skies. Marines are slow. They don't kill it. And this beautiful surround, it's almost been figured out. It's almost been stopped even before it even is going to happen here. So 3rd base forced away. More starports on the way. GuMiho moving into the late game now. And Spirit, a bio player wants to be ahead in supply, wants to be ahead in everything. He is not. And this siege up into his main is constricting.
GuMiho is just not playing by the rules right now. Look at the upgrade tab. We just saw +1 vehicle weapons finish. It's 2-2 basically for Spirit. Stim combat shields, concussive shells. Just now +1 vehicle weapons for GuMiho. This is a wild setup. I am so impressed by GuMiho. He has just been pure chaos. And now we see a counter drop on the other side of the map. I mean, killing a 4th base, that's not enough. His main is sieged.
He can't produce. Like,
No, he can't.
How is GuMiho? Okay, so for now the Vikings are, well, actually, none of them, not many of them will go down. So many barracks have died over the last 30 seconds or so. Of course, one of the benefits of bio is you are more mobile. You can find your way in. You can find opportunities. But you talked about those missile turrets. There are so many of them in the main base right now. Spirit thinking about it, though, and he's found the opening. He's found the salient point. 5 medevacs into the main, dropping on top of tanks here, but there are more layers where that came from. They're going to get on top of the main. The bio, most part, is still here. Couple SCVs will fall. All the medevacs, they're staying alive for right now. This is a solid opening salvo from Spirit, but Steadfast, he needs so much more than he's getting.
He sure does, but we talked about late game. I was going to say it's a BC transition, and that is actually huge. If these BCs get out, it actually becomes a big problem. Now, I will say 2-2 Marines do better against BCs than, like, well, the normal Marines, because, I mean, BCs attack so much, so quickly, but there's, like, no Marines on this side of the map. The BC is going to pop out. It's going to clean this up. He might not even need it, but GuMiho, I mean, this is just such a weird setup right now. Liberator finds a random tank in the middle of nowhere. This is the most chaotic game we've had in this entire tournament, potentially, so far.
Okay, this is actually pretty nice here. It looks like for the some of this army is going to be able to get out. Actually, maybe not. Drops on top of a tank, though.
Nice
gets a tank. And I think he saw the battle cruisers. Granted, now he definitely saw the battle cruisers. Granted, he doesn't have he doesn't have the right production. He actually doesn't have a starport. Yeah, he's gonna have to be mass Marines. Now, of course, these battle cruisers are at 0-0. They're not as beefy as they might otherwise be. They don't have +1 attack, nothing like that. But with
the Marines are all trapped in the main base.
Yeah, with all the production everywhere in the world, I mean, how do you bring enough Marines together to deal with this?
The BCs might just win this game. Might just win this game right here and now. They're going to completely shut down this base. If GuMiho targets SCVs, he will win with them. GuMiho, the Gumi god of mech, striking again in game 2. He was in a really rough position in this game, but he is making it happen here.
Yeah, Spirit's just trying to get one more fight, get more rounds of production, build enough. Because in fairness, it is only 2 battle cruisers right now. They are powerful, sure, but if you can flood in from every angle, knock down the tanks, maybe you're going to have enough Marines to fight this right now. But look at GuMiho's position. He's not giving him that fight. Tanks are everywhere. Hellbats are going to kill the orbital because, you know, battle cruisers in disguise, I guess. And Spirits, he doesn't even try. He just taps out. And Steadfast, how do you come back from this now? That was maybe a 1 in 50 game. GuMiho, 49 out of 50 games, 99 games out of 100. He does not win that game. But he makes it happen. He finds the miracle. The battle cruisers move through. And if I'm Spirit here, he's played a marathon run in this bracket thus far. He got in game 2 in a way that we do not see happen. How do you mentally come back from this?
I mean, it's going to be so difficult. I think you just have to cheese and hope that GuMiho doesn't respond like correctly. You know, as far as I'm concerned, for GuMiho, just don't go for a very safe defensive build, because I think Spirit has to do something like that. Like, GuMiho's just been all over him here. Spirit was in a really good position in this game number 2, and GuMiho just walked across the map. This should never have been winnable for GuMiho, but he just did. He just won it because he wanted to. I do want to point out there was a couple of critical supply blocks at 101 and 109 that did make things a little bit tricky for Spirit, but GuMiho should never have been able to get that siege position on the third base the way that he did. And then the BCs, I mean, they just really took control.
Yeah, and I know you said game 1, just tap out, don't let it go too far, whatever. Given how game 2 was going, the fact that Spirit didn't at least try to, you know, stim in, hit from different angles, whatever, like just give it the old college try, it's a little bit concerning to me. I'm hoping that he's going to be able to come back, you know, hit him with the cheese or whatever you're talking about. But we're going to find out. Can Spirit bring his mental back? Can he start to play back into this game? It's going to be rough. Ancient Cistern, though, is going to be his opportunity. We're going to get in to game number 3 here. And in the bottom right, looking like a savant of the matchup, he's up 2. It's GuMiho.
And his opponent spawning up in the top right. He needs your energy. It is Psystorm Gaming's Spirit. And I mean, it is good to be confident in your macro game, and he's going Barracks double gas again, but it just feels like GuMiho is just getting to run his own playbook, you know? He's getting to do what he wants. And speaking to that, he has gone for a 1-Rax expand again. Imagine if he'd gone for the, the little run into each other and they just kind of stop. Now, GuMiho is scouting. So to scout with a 1-Rax expand, it does technically make it safe because, you know, he's getting here before he builds the command center. So it's kind of fine. But, like, oh, man, I really... GuMiho is just outplanned Spirit for sure.
I mean, I don't think it's fair to say. Like, yes, he has, but that was game 1. I don't know that GuMiho necessarily goes for a build like this in game 3 if game 2 doesn't go as it does. Like, you're up 2-0 now. You can get away with some more greed. You could do that. And, I mean, I'm GuMiho. I'm flying so high right now. We talked about it at length in between games. There's no world where GuMiho should have won that game. He was so far behind. It didn't even seem possible. So if I'm GuMiho and I win the impossible game, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to be greedy in game number 3. Like, no. What's there to lose?
Well, I mean, a free game, but...
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. It is a good time to go for that. Spirit, by the way, building a bunker on the other side of the map. He kept the SCV hidden, and GuMiho really staying aggressive with this Reaper. And now Spirit can kind of beeline across the map. I wonder if GuMiho is going to read this, though, and maybe keep the Reaper on the other side of the map. No, he is not. SCV will not complete this bunker. Well, I think he was maybe hoping for a reactor afterwards, but it's actually a tech lab. We're going to see very quick Cyclone out of this from GuMiho after the Hellion. But, I mean, this bunker it's not going to achieve anything, to be honest.
I mean, I guess it forces GuMiho back, but his Reaper took damage, so he kind of had to go back anyways.
He wanted to go back anyways.
Yeah, exactly. It's really not all that much. So now we're just in the situation where Spirit is, you know, by definitionally behind. His command center is slower.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, so 2 Reapers on the other side. This is a lot of army from Spirit, but GuMiho understands what the possibilities are. He's not going to go onto the low ground with his SCV, so the command center is going to get delayed by a single Reaper. Here comes the second one now. Reapers go in the main, but they don't get any. They don't get anything, and they lose 2.
He gets like 1 SCV maybe, but yeah, now the Cyclone gets to kind of fight this whole army. Oh, he's even going to find... He might kill everything.
Oh, no.
Nope, he'll get out of range of the lock-on. But the command center's delayed. Spirit, this is the worst start he's had in the entire series. This is the farthest behind he is. This command center is just so late. Hellion even gets intercepted. GuMiho... I mean, every little... The only thing that has really gone well for Spirit in this series is those 2 Reapers in game 2 that got into the main base, found a ton of SCVs. I mean, at this point, you've got to be feeling completely hopeless. And look at this from GuMiho, the swagger, the Chad, Giga Chad energy. He goes for the 3rd command center on location. Yeah, this is everything. Everything is going well for GuMiho.
I mean, if I'm going to give Spirit some credit, the hold from GuMiho's pressure in game 2 was also very nice. You know, he put himself in a pretty significant advantage. But yeah, Steadfast, it feels like the Spirit is truly broken here. Like, everything's going wrong. We're seeing him do things that he might not normally do. And at this point, well, GuMiho is not going to give him room. You go for mech, for example, right? That takes time to build into it. No, we're going straight into BIOS. It's a quick stim out of GuMiho here. He's not giving... Sometimes you can get yourself back into a game. You can say, you know what? I'm macroing really well. This is feeling nice. You know, my fingers are going where they want to. No. Stim halfway done here. GuMiho is going to hit with a sledgehammer across the map as he takes his 3rd base. And Spirit, I mean... I want to see him do something. I want this to go to more games, but we're going to have to see him really tighten it up from here on out.
I just want to say that the way GuMiho has played this series is so cool because Spirit... GuMiho has not built a Raven in this entire series. In a matchup where Ravens are king, where you basically have to build them, GuMiho has said, no, You don't tell me what to do, Steadfast. You're some silly, smelly caster. What are you doing here? I can build no Ravens and still win. And I'm like, no, you can't. And he's like, watch. And you know what? We're watching. I'm here for it. It has been pretty entertaining to watch. Spirit is still in this game. He is going to go for mech, but GuMiho scouts it out immediately. And you talked about that quick stim. You talked about the quick potential aggression. Spirit will scan, and he will see that there's... Actually, hang on. Is he seen at the... Oh, okay. Banshee does get spotted. That's nice.
I guess a disable on it, too. Make sure it doesn't get any damage.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. Okay, he did see the 4th barrack. So he's going to be seeing that this production is already up and running. I mean, GuMiho's going to have a lot of opportunities to find big damage over the next few minutes.
Yeah, the one thing he didn't see was that this is single eBay. You know, that is a significant scout there. This is not a GuMiho that... yes, he's got a quick third. Fine. This is not a GuMiho that intends to go into the mid game for a while. Single eBay is just aggression running across the map, timing out with combat shields. That is your +1 armor. Effectively, that's your HP boost on the army. And Spirit, despite scouting everything, is taking the... well, enough, right? He sees the extra barracks. Despite that, he's taking the 3rd base. So now he's got an extra vector to try to defend as the big move out comes in from GuMiho. He's gonna have some tanks. He's sitting on 4 tanks. He's got those Ravens. But the question now is whether everything is in the proper position. The Vikings, the tanks, the Ravens, to make sure he can defend against this.
Yeah, well, he does have these Cyclones in the main base. They will be able to get a double lock on, but GuMiho led with the lower occupancy medevac. 1 Raven instantly sniped. Both Cyclones go down. And even though GuMiho will clean this up, that's a couple of pretty critical units. Meanwhile, units just ran right into the natural. There was nothing to stop them. And we're going to see, a great grenade knocks those Marines away. This is such a nice little multi-prong coming in from GuMiho. He kills 12 SCVs. He's forcing a bunch of lost mining time in the natural, and he will just simply disengage with the tanks from the 3rd. GuMiho is playing so damn well.
Man, shades of game 1, right? Just the triple prong, getting damage in every single location, and technically Steadfast, again, that shouldn't be possible. You know, there are... if you have a little bit of your army everywhere, there are spots where your opponent should have more. And that's just by definition. But GuMiho makes it look like Spirit doesn't have as much anywhere on the map. And every time, everything like he won fights on all 3 sides, or at least won fights for quite a while. This is a nice scout. Getting the Liberator on the right side, seeing the double medevac, and he's going to have to respond to it. But again, we've seen how GuMiho is playing. He's not attacking in any one spot. He's got an army on the left side as well. Now, of course, Sensor Tower makes that a little easier to find out, but this hot drop is beautiful, and there is nothing, at least for a while, to deal with these tanks. Actually, 1 tank goes down, that's nice, but there's no mining in the 3rd base. The SCVs have to continue to get pulled here. Vikings landed, and it will stay alive. Only 2 workers go down, but it's mining time on... Okay, so the... should stay alive. Yeah, should stay alive here.
It'll stay alive.
But 5 workers fall.
Honestly, that was handled so well from Spirit, so much better than I thought he'd be able to. Very well done. GuMiho, despite the Liberator scouting out the drop on the right side, maybe a little bit of disrespect being shown to Spirit. The fact that he still boosted in there, he did get value, and he killed a couple of Vikings, which is really important when your opponent is playing mech. But now it is Spirit's turn to try and hit a little counterattack here. There's no defenses on the 3rd base. We've got GuMiho kind of moving back home with his tanks. GuMiho is like really spread out.
Yeah.
And if these tanks get into a good spot, there's no sensor towers, Spirit might just find himself in a winning move like right now.
But look at this positioning, though. So GuMiho has a drop into the natural, right? There's a big army coming in from GuMiho. And remember, tank's not sieged, but they're going to get sieged up right now. Marines coming in from every single side. But the tanks, for the moment, they're doing a pretty solid job knocking them down. But here comes the reinforcement of GuMiho. Hellions were killing workers, but even still, 3 tanks are still here. Hellions got to go to the right side. They're going to knock them down as well. And that looked actually really promising for GuMiho, but instead, Spirit, he gets 22 workers. He kills off the army here, but the SCVs are going to have to get pulled. The Hellions are down, and the Marauders, they can kill tanks, but the tanks aren't sieged. They can fire just a little bit better. Seems like Spirit will eventually, I think, get forced back. Not even.
Nah,
the Hellions
are won the game with this.
Yeah.
He has straight up won the game with this. He snuck right into the 3rd base. GuMiho panicked, trying to respond to this, and I don't blame him. But he just tried to attack around a corner, And while this is good for GuMiho, he will get these barracks from the right side. They add just enough to potentially clean up this army, but Spirit killed 43 SCVs during all this. Amazing attack from Spirit. GuMiho, I mean, eventually that chaos and that off-book play can come back and bite you, and that's pretty much what happened right here.
Although, Steadfast, we do have to point out that GuMiho, not only was he expanding rather aggressively, we have to point out just how greedy he's been. His 4th base is an orbital. Like,
yeah.
In fairness, part of that can be, okay, I don't want to get sieged up by tanks. I just want to be able to lift.
Barracks.
But Hellions, they have a lot to say about that one. There really is no defense on these outlying bases, and I'm kind of curious to see whether he's going to get an orbital on the 5th base as well. But for now, he is back against the ropes. Down in army supply, down in workers, up a couple upgrades. Ooh. But Steadfast, you know, upgrades matter, right? +2 versus Stim Bio is an important tank upgrade. But other than that, upgrades don't matter as much when it's mech versus bio.
No, they matter so much less. In fact, the Blue Flame upgrade is way more valuable at this point. You know, I would say at least in the armor, I would say it's just worth a lot. It's worth a lot. Of course, against Marauders, it's irrelevant. Oh, this is a nice little interception here from GuMiho, but it's so little in the grand scheme of things. We are going to see, oh, we've got the 3rd base kind of under siege for Spirit, and more units are sneaking. Oh, it's just SCVs.
Never mind.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Now, if this does go to a base trade, the mobility and those upgrades could actually become a factor, but Spirit, if he's decisive, he can close off this natural entirely. Big stim coming on in. The Vikings will be able to chip away at the medevacs. Got to be a little careful with them, keep them clumped up. We do not want to lose them. GuMiho is trying to make this game chaotic. Spirit is in such a huge lead, but GuMiho is actually giving himself way more of an opportunity than I thought he'd be able to. He's doing a really great job of trying to, you know, make things messy. And he's doing a really good job.
I swear, if GuMiho pulls two 99% unwinnable games in a row, and he's going to try to do it right now, every single side, SCV's pulled Marines as well, but the Hellions are doing a great job. Vikings land. And you know what, Steadfast? Only one miracle in this series just yet. Spirit, he punches. Actually, that's not even true. Spirit had the miraculous comeback this time. He punches back hard. And it was looking rough. It was looking so rough. Your Spirit was taking damage. He wasn't looking like we're used to. But if there is a game that allows you to come back into it, that bolsters your spirits a little bit. Spirits. It bolsters your mindset. I love this. In the chat afterwards, Spirit just types lol. It's like, we're good. I can't believe I won that. That's fantastic. But that means we get to move to game 4. And this, we are not doomed with the curse of the 3 zeros. And where do we go from here? Does this just prove that mech is imba? Is that what we're learning out of this? You can be massively behind and still win? Like, what do you learn out of this game?
You learn that you can't lose track of your opponent's army. It's the same thing that happened in game number 2, but it's exactly flipped. And now this is such a good mental reset for Spirit, because now he's just like thinking to himself, he's like, he's not just better than me. He just kind of got lucky in game 2. I got lucky in game 3. Game 1, you know, we'll pretend it didn't happen. I mean, he still got to win 2 games, but like, yeah, that was the kind of game that can definitely flip the script on the series. I'm not ready to say it did yet. We still have to see Spirit kind of fight a good game in game number 4, but damn, I cannot believe that. Just the fact that it happened twice in reverse, back to back, with one player sneaking up onto the other person and just sieging up and killing everything, and then in reverse, the exact same thing happens, is wild.
Yeah, I'm grinning from ear to ear. This is just so beautiful. We've had a couple underwhelming series just to start the day. I mean, I think that's fair to say, but this one is absolutely delivering, and Steadfast, it gets better. You know, we have Gressvan for map 4, and is it potentially going to be some sort of early game tank siege, you know, that we doesn't deliver? Fine. That's always a possibility. But this game and the Hero Marine Spirits here, like, there have been so many good TVTs on this map. And given now that I mean, both players have been bloodied. GuMiho taught to maybe not be as greedy. He was insanely greedy in that game from the advantage he found himself in. they've been taught to play a little more conservative, maybe not to take things as a given. That's a recipe for a nice, solid macro game with just everyone hitting each other on all fronts. And I mean, from that point, that's a promising idea. That makes me a little excited.
Yeah. The cool thing too, and we didn't get to see it from GuMiho because he got he literally, he was like playing Marco Polo from his position of advantage, and his opponent just was like, "We're playing StarCraft. That he's closed his eyes. I can just walk up and hit him in the mouth." And then Spirit did, and then GuMiho died. If Spirit had built a sensor tower, I mean, that move obviously never comes through, but we were going to see something really cool from GuMiho. He was setting up to go for 12 barracks, mass bio. And he was just going to try and meat grinder his opponent down. But while that was happening, while he's playing Marco Polo, he just kind of gets bopped in the nose.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So some pools have a retractable covering, right? GuMiho's playing Marco Polo, and between bobs, this covering goes off. It's like, well, you're drowning now. Great. Like, what are you gonna do now? You can't pop up anymore. But okay, so Gresvon's gonna be map 4, and Altitude is map 5. So a couple big maps to round this series out, which is gonna be fantastic. The question, though, now that again GuMiho's been bloodied, I don't think we're going to see him play quite as footloose and fancy free as we saw him play in game 3. I think that's part because he was up 2-0. You talked about his series planning, right? Through the first couple games, the Reaper expand all the time. How does what we saw in game 3? How does this series? Where do we see GuMiho go here? Is it back to standard, back to barracks, double gas factory? I mean, this is Gresvon. This is a map you absolutely can be greedy on, but does it make sense to do it 2 times in a row? I don't know. But I'll let you answer that question after we get into the game, because game 4 is here, and that is the best news I've heard since game 3. In the bottom right, in the blue, down a game, but he made a miracle happen. Let's see if he can take it to game 5. Spirit.
And his opponent, spawning up at the top left, it is the Red Terran player, GuMiho. I mean, Gresvon, despite the fact that it is a big map, it is a map where, if your opponent does proxy 2 racks you, and you have gone 1 racks expand, you will die. Babylon, you can probably defend that. Royal Blood, there's ways, it's a little bit dependent on the map. Something like Altitude, yeah, definitely still possible. But Gresvon, the ramp is quite close to this Reaper jump-in spot. There's another Reaper jump-in spot there's actually 2 more at the natural, really. And there's no ramp at the natural expansion to defend the command center itself. So it's even just against barracks double gas, it's a little tricky. I wouldn't have minded seeing GuMiho go for the double proxy racks Reaper or something like that, but at the same time, Spirit has opened up safe every single game, and that's the benefit of doing this. You play more exhausting, longer games, but you're kind of cheese-proof a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, Steadfast, you say that if you go for that, the more greedy option, you can certainly die to proxy racks, and that's absolutely fair. But I would like to remind you, Oliveira, Maru, Gresvon, we saw that, and the greedy player won. So technically, it's possible, but only if you don't send the Reaper in when you're supposed to. And yeah, that being said,
yeah.
You know what? Let me live my dreams, okay? It's fine. But yeah, we're not seeing that, of course, in this game. Reaper and SCV, but Spirit holds the high ground here, so technically this is going to be good for him. In fact, he's going to get the first shot off even still. And now we're going to have to back up just a little bit. So he's going to be able to get the SCV before his goes down. And that's already going to be really nice. Gets another shot off. KD8 charge, though, forces him back. And the little dance is going to go in his favor, but he's not going to be able to kill the Reaper. So GuMiho can establish some map control, but still, 2 Reapers versus 1. You got to back up on that one. So the natural, it's going to go down just as well as you should like.
Yeah, absolutely. It is worth noting that in every single one of these interactions, it has been GuMiho who has been the assertive one, who's been the one pushing the issue. Spirit, while he has dealt with it the last couple games pretty well, Oh, this is a nice
this.
read right here. He understands that GuMiho has been that aggressive one. And now, if he can intercept and kill this second Reaper, he could possibly get some really good value on the other side of the map. But it looks like he wants to intercept the Hellion instead. No, okay, he's just sending it straight across the map. Oh, if he'd been setting up to intercept the Hellion, that would have been so good. I would have loved that.
Yeah, now the Reaper's going to find its way in. Spirit wants to get aggressive off this, but this means... Oh, he's got a Hellion here. Never mind. Even if the command center gets delayed briefly, it's not going to be really in a substantive way. The Reaper trades for it. Not an SCV doesn't even fall. And on the other side, he's going to... not going to get... No, he's going to go up the high ground, doesn't get the Hellion, loses a Reaper for it. A little too greedy there. And now there's a little bit less pressure on the map. You can't dive in 2 minutes and kill 7 workers like he did in game number 2. One Reaper, just 6 shots to kill a single SCV, not all that great. It's probably really not worth the effort. So, you know, Reapers have fallen, SCVs or Hellions have fallen. GuMiho marginally ahead, right? He got his natural 3 seconds faster.
It's very minimal.
Yeah.
Nice micro, by the way, on the natural from Spirit, saving that SCV. That was a good job. Good job on the pullback. Is GuMiho going to play Ravenless TVT again?
Yes.
He's building the Banshee once more. He isn't sending it across the map. Or, sorry, well, he will send it across the map. He hasn't got any damage with it, is what I should say. If he goes Ravenless TVT, I am going to be absolutely flabbergasted. Okay, he's selecting it. No, he's going to build a Raven.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, finally. GuMiho has said... Okay, fine, we'll play legal TVT. Spirit, by the way, supply blocked when he wants to build a Raven of his own. That's not ideal. Won't be the worst supply block in the world, but it did cost him maybe 10 seconds. And I wonder if he was planning to go for a third Raven. Now he can't. We'll see. He did get a very fast third command center.
Yeah, that is the big difference there. We've seen him be greedy every time, but GuMiho is going to put his command center on location. Because, again, you were talking about this every single game. For the majority of this, it has been GuMiho that has been setting the tempo, has been the aggressive one on the map. And they say the best offense or best defense is a good offense. If you establish that pressure like that, you can take your command center on location, things of that nature. And with no Viking here, this Banshee, yes, it can't fight Marines straight up, but you can play on the edge of the map, can just showcase some brilliant micro like GuMiho is until now the Cyclone arrives. But he got an SCV, got a couple Marines, and escapes. And now, pressure here coming out of GuMiho. What do these Cyclones find?
Well, they're looking for the Cyclone to move to the low ground to go hunting, and then they get the kill, and then GuMiho gets even more value out of that. Would open the door for the potential Banshee to come in later if there was no Viking production, which there isn't. So that was a really nice little potential setup for GuMiho. I do think maybe he should get back off the... Well, actually...
What's going to move over there?
Maybe he should get back off the map with him. I think it's a little optimistic to stay there any longer.
Yeah. I'm getting... Oh, what was it? The GuMiho played a TVT. What was it against? Bunny, I think, in the group stage, right? In day 1. And I'm getting some serious deja vu out of that game, right? We had the Cyclone bait, we had the Banshee on top of it. Like, there's a very prescribed way that he is playing this game, not just off the builds, but where he puts his units on what timings, things of that nature. But 2 times in a row, the bait's not really giving him all that much. We're going to see for now, the Marine is going to scout out the double Cyclone, so they're going to have to back up. Third base ready on location for Spirit. But at the end of the day, I think actually GuMiho was mining out of his faster. So yeah, maybe a quicker orbital. But GuMiho, he's up a couple workers here. He's very happy with how this game is going.
Honestly, I think I like Spirit's position just a little bit more. It's pretty even, but Spirit went very greedily into the mid game. Despite the fact that he got that quick Raven setup, he skipped Vikings, went straight into the double engineering bay, which GuMiho did the same. Actually, that's not true. That's not true at all. There's 4 Vikings here. What am I saying? So literally completely lying to you. But it is going to be a better infrastructure going into the mid game. Now, the air control is really nice, but on a map like Grespon, there's a lot of opportunity to make plays with Marines. Speaking of which, they'll find one of the Cyclones. That's kind of nice. I don't think GuMiho is expecting those Marines to be there. I like this build order setup from Spirit, particularly because he's going to have combat shields with it so quickly. And if there's a Viking on the top side, but there is a tiny little gap between that Viking's vision and the sensor tower range, Oh, wow. We also got some Marines in the main base. Missile turret. Okay, GuMiho should be buttoned up tight. But he doesn't have much at the front, actually, to cover these units. If the Ravens get their interference matrices, Spirit can just sprint right in here. Okay. Nice. That was a good check on the move.
And it was. He's got like a 10, actually more than that, like a 20-ish, 15-second window where he has combat shields and 1-1, and his opponent's Marines do not. And yeah, Steadfast, it's really hard to push in through tanks, so it seems like Spirit's not going to be able to take advantage of that window. But because he had that, Ravens take a little damage here, but Spirit sims forward. He's going to be fine. But because he had that 1-1 timing, that also means he's going to have the 2-2 timing. And is it as powerful? Maybe not, because he's not going to have the combat shield advantage as well. I mean, combat shields will be done by then, but it does expose a secondary timing as we get closer to maxed out. Here's a couple Marines. They try to kill the Cyclone, but it's just going to be... He could have saved that Marine. He could have.
I'm just laughing at the heal battle versus the actual missiles being shot. And like, it's like the, the medevac is like a doctor on call, and he's like, no, what seems to be happening? The patient seems to be suffering some kind of repeated trauma. Could we maybe, could somebody deal with that perhaps? And like, it's just continuing to get pummeled. Like, okay, well, I guess we'll keep performing emergency surgery, but it seems like, yeah, okay, he's dead. Just bitter medevac pilot. Oh, I love the idea of bitter medevac pilot. The sitcom. I think that's a great thing. We should get a niche on it.
There we go. That makes a lot of sense. But I mean, you don't have to out heal it. You just pick the Marine up.
Yes.
Like, yeah. I mean, that's all on the medevac pilot right there. Medevac pilot. You have nothing to be bitter about here. This is such a great Marine scout. Like,
oh, it's so good. And so good seeing this triple drop.
I love that we're finally getting into a game where both players are showing us how good they are in this matchup. First couple, yes, GuMiho looked fantastic, absolutely. And Spirit in game 2 probably should have won that game, but it was off of decisive moves in the early game or the mid game for the most part. It didn't give us this beautiful, expansive battle of vision and tacticality that we're getting in this game. And Spirit, he's doing Spirit things, taking these advantages that he has, these timings that he has. That's 2 starports on the way. He's getting into that one just a little bit faster. And if you own air control in the late game, it is by far the most important thing. So Spirit wins the fight with the Marines, gets the medevac as well here. This is a great fight for our Polish Terran player. He's going to force the entire army of GuMiho back. And even if he doesn't choose to really get aggressive off this, just chooses to own the center of the map, it means that likely he's not going to get caught in transition now. It's very easy when you go into starports and you start committing your money to double armory and extra starports, getting in a fusion core, everything else for your opponent to hit that slim timing and kill you. But because he won that fight in the middle, and with all these missile turrets, very nice, because he took that fight in the middle and he forced GuMiho back, that timing is not really going to be there anymore.
Yeah, this is great actually from Spirit here. And he's even a little bit like GuMiho's doing the same transition. Oh, this is funny. There's an accidental hellbat in production. This is not what you want at all. That's obviously a misclick. I hopefully he cancels it, because that is just
mech transition
useless. And in fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if he kills it off if he does let it complete. Oh, look at that. They're both going for the heavy turret play. They're even doing a similar like layout of the turrets with the double stack on the bottom side. That's kind of nifty that they've gone to the same school of Terran setup. The one difference is the faster second armory for Spirit and the faster transition towards Liberators. Actually, hang on. What are his starports?
Well, and the fact that GuMiho's building Ravens and Spirit's building Vikings.
Oh, yes. So that's what I wanted to see, if it was a reactor or if it was... yes, because Spirit does prefer the Liberators. Yeah, and he's really good with them. And
I think functionally that's just better right now with how much anti-armor missile does 1 less. Auto turrets in the late game are kind of paper. You do tend to like the Viking Liberator, but this is a massive move out of GuMiho. That is so many tanks. But if you look at the Viking count, it is going to be, well, actually, not really. It's equal on the Viking count here. The Ravens will fall. Tanks get massive damage. The planetary is actually just dead, and the Marines filtering down onto the low ground. They will hit the deck as well, and of course it frees up some supply. But this is not really a fight that Spirit's winning right now, but he's got a drop in the main base here. He can actually deny +2 armor if he targets that one down. That's going to be, or +2 attack. And that's going to be nice, but you have to win the Viking fight right here. And yes, Defender's advantage is a thing. And actually, that's a great anti-armor missile as well, disabling the 8 extra Vikings. So yeah, he was down in Viking count, but between the anti-armor missile and the Raven play and Defender's advantage, he actually dumpsters that fight. So now significant Viking lead coming out of Spirit.
Yes, and he did deny that +2 vehicle weapon. Such a crucial upgrade against these Timmed Marines. Oh, Marines on the top side for Spirit. Okay, he does pull them back. GuMiho, though, is rotating his whole army. He snuck over. We're just now seeing the Liberators added on. Spirit won't be able to mine from this base at the moment. And GuMiho going to try and make a rotation during all this. Okay, he's going to be able to cancel at least one of these command centers. No, it's going to be a kill. Oh, there it is. That's the move I was looking for before. He will recognize that his opponent is not guarding these tanks well enough. Big drop on top of them. We are going to see the tanks unsieged, so they do manage to retreat on out. But Spirit gets a withering tank shot on the right side army.
Yeah, the tanks will re-siege, and that is a don't run over the Marine, Spirit. Okay, he loses 1. And now if you look at the Viking count, it's because that's really all that matters right now. It's 12-7, and now Liberators are going to join the field. So this slow push of Spirit can start here. He's got Liberator range. He's got armor upgrades. He's got +1 attack on the way. I'd love to see +2 armor eventually for these Sky units. Again, maybe lacking a little money right now after he lost the high ground base and kind of lost that extra base, but he's going to be able to start to build into that one once again. And we're seeing GuMiho, he's got this Marine component of his army that, quite realistically, is not particularly useful anymore. So he's going to start to try to play some multi-prong, start to play in the middle of the map with that. But for now, Spirit's been able to reestablish his control over the entire right side. He's got +2 attack, so Stim Marines are really not as powerful as they otherwise were. And GuMiho, though, that's a lot of his army on the bottom side.
Yeah, pretty much all of it. Spirit just refinished the sensor tower just as GuMiho was starting to make his move. Now, GuMiho, he hesitated for a little bit, but I think he is going to go for it, and I think that would be the right call. His army is not as good in a straight-up fight, but if he can get a massive jump on his opponent's production, that could be huge. We are going to see Spirit trying to come back home, but this is so many Marines and tanks here. Now, Spirit, okay, he is going to try and pick away at the back end. Oh, this one tank will get a good shot, but it won't be able to clear this out. Spirit, he needs to get back in position as soon as possible.
He's not going to be able to. This is so much armor here. Maybe this is something that Spirit eventually cleans up, but he's going to take so much damage here. He's lost a couple orbitals in the main base. You got to be careful of the Marines, of course, but this aren't the problem with Spirit's army. It's just not all that mobile. It takes forever to get set up. So the Vikings, they land on the production here in the main. They can get the armory with +1 air attack if that's what they choose to target fire it down. For now, 15 seconds, you really want to get that. Even still, Liberators will start to slow push forward. 6 seconds here, 5 +1 air attack will survive. Vikings in the sky as well. They're going to land. They're going to be able to clean everything up. And meanwhile, I'm not exactly sure what, but something killed 23 SCVs for Spirit, so that's nice. And as much as I was saying, hey, this is horrible, and it still is not great, somehow Spirit comes out of this. He's equal on workers. He's up 20 army supply. He's got far superior air upgrades. And this is actually not nearly as bad for Spirit as I thought it was going to be.
No, Spirit holds air control. He's got huge amounts of Liberators. He's got so many tanks. This is a way better position for Spirit, in my opinion. GuMiho has killed a lot of workers, but Spirit simply has to go across the map and set up his army, not get it collapsed on in a big way. And I think we're going to game 5. Now, that is a lot of Marines, and the potential for a collapse is scary, but look at these liberation zones. They lock down so much space, and these are +2 tanks. You cannot just stim on top of them.
There's no, it's going to be so hard for GuMiho to take this fight. Now, that's a free tank, and you cannot, and with the economy as it is, a second one going down here, you cannot give that away. And GuMiho, realizing what the success of that first push, right? He got a lot of production. He killed, I think, like 3 orbitals, only 2 remaining on the map. He realizes what his win condition is. It's going to be in the base trade once again, and again, this army from Spirit is something that moves slowly. It's powerful, absolutely. Straight up fight, very hard. But if you can get it, if you can run across the map, you can out-siege it. If you can out-position it, that is always an opportunity. And the tanks are not sieged. This is GuMiho's opportunity. Shuts down every single tank, or just about all of them. And he's going to get on top of the tanks on the backside. Liberators, they're not sieged where they need to be. Not just yet. GuMiho, do you have the opportunity? Here's going to stim right on in the Liberators. They're falling, and Spirit loses everything. Steadfast. For what? For what did Spirit do?
just lost all of his advantage, all of his army. Such a brilliant maneuver from GuMiho. Spirit didn't keep tabs on the Ravens. He didn't see it. He didn't see that the Raven count was high enough to disable so many tanks. He was so overly confident in his army, and now it is GuMiho who is counterattacking, who's got a 20 army supply lead. He's sieging up this topside base. What a turnaround. And the production from Spirit was gutted from earlier. What does he have? He's got 5 barracks, he's got 2 starports. He still does have air superiority, hilariously, but if he loses this topside, well, actually, I mean, GuMiho's SCV count is so crap that there's absolutely still a chance, and it's not like it's 10 orbitals for GuMiho. It's only 3.
No, I mean,
what is this little drop?
It's actually fantastic.
Drop. I love it.
It's gonna get a tank lab. It's gonna deny tank production. That is beautiful, but another base will fall here. So Vikings thinking about landing on the tanks. They're not going to do so. Oh. It baits the Marines on in. And now these medevacs may be a little bit, they got to be so careful here.
It's the Ravens. It's the Ravens are everything right now. He needs to find these Ravens. Spirit does, and GuMiho needs to keep them alive for dear life. Look at this reinforcement setup of Marines. There are 43 Marines on the map right now for GuMiho. He has completely forsaken air control, and he is just hoping that he can keep these Ravens alive. Now, if he can get some big interference matrices, things are going to be difficult. Okay, so it's like, where are the Vikings? He needs those Vikings. Oh, we're going to see GuMiho creeping on forward. The Liberators being added on. There's one, and it is going to be able to work away at this one tank. Barely doesn't get the kill.
Steadfast, big problem. GuMiho is literally not mining gas. He cannot build more tanks. He cannot build more Ravens. No more medevacs. It's only on the mineral income.
Oh,
that's a problem.
This Raven setup, though.
Oh, it's so beautiful. He's going to try to set it up here. The tanks, they're not sieged, and he scans out. He knows what's happening. Oh, he sees it. He sees it. Anti-armor missile, though, that's a big, big deal. And we're going to see the tanks get shut down anyways. Liberators as well. You cannot take this fight if you're Spirit. You have to run. But by doing so, I mean, maybe the planet, it's 4 tanks. They only have +1. A repair might be enough. And how much energy is on these Ravens, Steadfast?
A ton of energy actually is on these Ravens. We are going to see the siege tank of Spirit sieging up from the back position. Ooh, snipe on a couple of Vikings is nice. Liberators need to be the answer right now from Spirit, but it is tough to make that recognition. The other thing is, too, the Ravens can just disable them. They can just disable the Liberators, even a disable on the tank. He might be able to sprint in on top of this command center. You never want to do that. Even though it is no gas mining for GuMiho, the Marines are going to be so good in this position because there's so few tanks. The Ravens are everything. If he kills those Ravens, they're not replaceable right now.
I mean, Spirit's really been benefiting from a superior economy for quite a while now. He actually has more Marines than GuMiho has. And this is, it's only by a couple, but even still the problem, though, it's 4 tanks to 2 right now. We're going to see auto-charge spam. Here is the fight. Liberator sieges up, but it's going to get shut down here on top of the planetary. It's going to stay alive just long enough. Massive splash damage, and the army of Spirit just comes rolling right on in. But into tank range, 1 tank remains, and it's going to go down. And at this point, finally, Spirit breaks through. He breaks the tech of GuMiho. We have 1 Raven, and at this point, that 1 Raven, it's so important. It has no HP, but Steadfast, Spirit can build tanks. He can build Liberators. He can build tech again. GuMiho purely on the Marine count right now, finally rebuilding some sort of a gas economy. But at this point, I mean, there's no healing on these Marines. There's no medevacs.
Yeah, there's 1 medevac somewhere on the map. I think it's literally hidden right now. The concave of Marines, the counter concave from Spirit. You talked about that economy. GuMiho with an excellent break, but Spirit just got enough eco out to hold it. By the way, in the chaos of this game, GuMiho misplaced this command center. He's got it mining just a little bit here. We do see this 1 medevac on the bottom side. It is potentially going to get pincered off. We do see a siege tank showing on up. Nope. Looks like the medevac will survive for the moment. Finally, a couple more medevacs being added on. Spirit, I don't even think... Oh, this is amazing right now. This Liberator, so good.
God, I love Grisfun. Like,
this might be the best map in StarCraft 2's history. Like, it's produced the best games by such a ludicrous amount.
Oh, this is a big move coming in. It's an orbital that Spirit replaced.
And it's dead.
This is dead. And this is the last.
He doesn't even need to stim. He can't stim.
Okay, it's not the last orbital, but it's going to go down to one orbital, one mule at a time, one scan at a time. Spirit, he's up 7 workers, but I mean, if you don't have mules, you don't have scans, significant problems. He's going to lose his factory at... I thought he was going to lose his factory.
He doesn't want to commit in. He doesn't know where the army is. They're both so blind, but it is 3 orbitals to 1. And that information advantage that GuMiho will have as a result of having all those extra scans is gigantic.
And on top of that as well, I mean... Yes, Spirit has been... Actually, he's really mining very little right now. Even as Spirit denies mining on the bottom right side base, the problem is he doesn't have fresh mineral patches. Like, his base on the top side is a planetary. Stemming up the high ground. You gotta be so careful. Okay. Backing up for a second. GuMiho has 1 mining base right now. He's long distance mining out of his third. God. He's running out of mineral patches on that one. So even as GuMiho's mineral patches on the bottom side denied...
That Raven is so important. That Raven is on 4 HP and 2 interference matrices, an anti-armor mill and an interference matrix, 3 auto turrets, which would be the worst usage of the energy, but it's still worth mentioning. Nice spot on this army. Knowing that it's still there, knowing that it hasn't gone into your natural is good value. Good value on the information. There is only 1 orbital remaining. There is a planetary fortress. Spirit is not setting up for another base. He is thinking go, 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 but GuMiho, he is thinking mine, mine, mine on this top side base.
Man, losing that last orbital, taking him down to 1 was such a problem. And Spirit has made some brilliant moves in this game. He's that's beautiful. Hug of death there to kill it off. Spirit has made armor. Spirit has made so many decisive moves this game that have brought him back into it, that have given him advantages. But losing that last orbital, I'm getting, even despite the tech advantage that he has right now, right? It's 3 tanks to 1. It's 2 Ravens to 1 here. I'm getting
such a brilliant maneuver.
Getting that center tower is so nice. I'm getting so worried for Spirit right now. Like, the longer this goes, Spirit is just going to get outscaled into this game. He doesn't have the money to reestablish his economy. Not easily.
No, and GuMiho is doing such a good job of not... He's representing threat in so many places by having multiple armies on the map. He knows that his opponent's economy is bad, and he doesn't want to just attack in somewhere willy-nilly. He might go for it now. He's got to be careful, though. He doesn't want to commit into the natural, because if he does, he could get trapped with a huge portion of his army. But GuMiho is doing the 1-2 punch so nicely. Spirit balling everything up, and GuMiho is going to go for the last orbital here. He might just get it right here and now. Can he get the repair? Spirit will be able to get the repair on up. Good job from Spirit, but GuMiho is really starting to stretch and peel and pull Spirit apart.
And this is crazy because, I mean, the army supplies, okay, now it's 13 up for GuMiho, but for the most part, these army supplies have been very even, but we're seeing differing late game philosophies at this point. Spirit keeping this army together, establishing chokeholds, trying to play this extremely positional game, and GuMiho says, you know what? I have 98 Marines. I don't have tanks, not many. I don't have a lot of tech in the air, but I have 98 Marines, and they can be mobile. They can move around the map. You stim them, they have +3. They can kill a lot of stuff. So he has more flexibility on the map right now. His Liberator, it's going to siege up in Marine range. He's going to lose it without any damage right there, but that's a big fight. Anti-armor missile there on the Marines, getting on top of the tank, trying to, but the tank is firing so hard, and Spirit has to give this up, and now he's down 40 army supply. That had to be the fight he was going to win, and instead, GuMiho in 27 minutes. 3 miracles, 4 miracles. He just... 3 times now, this has been a game that GuMiho should not have won. And every single time through positioning, he pulls it back. And at this point, Steadfast, I don't see what Spirit's supposed to do.
There's nothing he can do at this point. He has to hope that GuMiho makes a big mistake. GuMiho has done so much, so well in this game. The scan comes down. It spots that the army is so much bigger than his. Spirit would need GuMiho to run into these tanks, stim multiple times, and just sit there. And at this point, GuMiho has shown us that his TVT is far too good for that. He is not going to make those kind of blunders. GuMiho got the decisive engagement, the wraparound on his opponent's army. Spirit tried to make something happen. He split his army up, went away from the tanks, but GuMiho's economy has been far too good. If we take a look at the income graph, over the last 5 minutes, it is all GuMiho. And with that, he has gotten so much done. The Marines kept his opponent from moving out in earnest, and now he's added the tech back on.
Yeah, and he's just going to tap out. He knows he's dead at this point. What a